The enigma of dreams has haunted human consciousness since the dawn of recorded history, a persistent, often bewildering intrusion into the meticulously constructed reality of our waking lives. For millennia, these nocturnal dramas were attributed to external forces, divine messages, prophetic visions, visitations by spirits or demons. They were portents to be interpreted by shamans, priests, or oracles, their meaning derived from ancient texts or communal folklore, reinforcing a worldview where the self was porous, readily influenced by forces beyond its immediate control. Yet, despite the advent of scientific rationalism and the subsequent attempts to demystify or outright dismiss them, reducing them to mere epiphenomena of neural activity, random noise generated by a sleeping brain, dreams stubbornly retain their grip. They are, in a profound and often unsettling way, undeniably ours, yet they speak a language that seems alien, filled with bizarre logic and visceral emotion. This inherent paradox hints at a power far deeper than prophecy or random firing, a power rooted not in the external cosmos, but within the vast, uncharted territory of the human psyche itself. And it was Sigmund Freud, the pioneering architect of psychoanalysis, who most forcefully articulated this internal dimension, famously declaring dreams the royal road to the unconscious, thereby repositioning them not as external messages, but as the most accessible output of an internal realm teeming with desires, fears, and memories actively hidden from conscious awareness. To truly grasp the hidden power of your dreams, as deciphered, or perhaps, irrevocably framed, by Freud, is to embark on an unsettling journey into the self, questioning the very nature of who we believe ourselves to be. Modernity, in its relentless pursuit of empirical verifiability and quantifiable data, has largely relegated dreams to the periphery of serious scientific inquiry, often framing them as neurologically interesting but psychologically inconsequential. They are the brain defragmenting its files, the neural pathways being flushed, fascinating from a physiological standpoint but devoid of the profound meaning attributed by earlier cultures or psychoanalytic theory. This narrative, dominant in certain scientific circles, serves a powerful, albeit often unconscious, purpose. It reinforces the primacy of the conscious, rational mind. It positions awareness, logic, and volitional control as the sole arbiters of reality and identity, comfortably sidestepping the messy, often contradictory, influence of a dynamic unconscious. But consider the sheer persistence and universality of dreaming across all human cultures and throughout history. If dreams were truly meaningless noise, why would the brain dedicate such significant resources, the vivid imagery, the intense emotional states, the complex narratives, even the physiological changes like REM sleep, to their production? This dismissal, while appearing scientifically grounded, functions suspiciously like a defense mechanism on a cultural scale, an elaborate means of maintaining the illusion of conscious mastery by denying the existence and influence of a vast, non-rational inner landscape. Is it not more plausible that this persistent phenomenon, so rich in subjective experience, serves a vital psychological function, one that transcends simple data processing? The resistance to seeing dreams as meaningful psychological artifacts is itself a testament to the power of what they potentially reveal, truths about ourselves that our conscious minds are often at great pains to conceal. Freud's great insight, building upon the nascent psychological theories of his time and the clinical observations of hysteria and neurosis, was to recognize this resistance and locate the source of dreams' power precisely within the act of concealment. He did not view dreams as straightforward messages, but as intricate, coded productions designed specifically to bypass a psychological censor. This censor, according to Freud, is the guardian of the boundary between the conscious and the unconscious, constantly working to keep unacceptable desires, traumatic memories, and forbidden impulses from erupting into conscious awareness, which would cause profound anxiety and disruption. Dreams, operating when the censor's guard is partially lowered during sleep, become a necessary compromise. They allow the powerful, pressing demands of the unconscious, primarily rooted, in Freud's initial formulation, in repressed sexual and aggressive drives, a form of expression, a hallucinatory fulfillment, but only if they are sufficiently disguised to evade the censor's full force. This dynamic struggle between the repressed wish and the censor's defense is the engine of dream formation, transforming the raw, unsettling content of the unconscious, the latent content, into the bizarre, often nonsensical story we remember, the manifest content. Thus, the power of dreams, in this view, lies not in their manifest narrative, but in the latent meaning they so expertly obscure, a meaning that holds the key to understanding the hidden conflicts and desires shaping our waking lives. The historical context surrounding Freud's development of psychoanalysis is crucial to understanding the radical nature of his claims about dreams. Victorian Vienna was a society steeped in repression, particularly concerning sexuality. Open discussion of desires, anxieties, and psychological disturbances was heavily stigmatized. Neuroses, hysterias, and other mysterious ailments were rampant, often baffling the medical establishment. Freud, initially a neurologist, turned to psychological explanations when physiological ones proved insufficient. Working with patients, he found that buried memories and unexpressed emotions, often related to early childhood experiences and forbidden impulses, seemed to be at the root of their suffering. Hypnosis offered glimpses into this hidden realm, but Freud found it inconsistent. Dreams, however, offered a consistent, universally available window. He began meticulously analyzing his own dreams and those of his patients, developing his complex theory of dream work. This was revolutionary. It shifted the understanding of dreams from something passive happening to the sleeper, a message received, to something active being done by the sleeper's own psyche, a meaning being constructed and disguised. The dream was no longer just a phenomenon, it was an act, a piece of psychological labor. The hidden dynamic revealed here is the constant internal pressure of repressed material seeking expression, and the equally constant counter-pressure of the defense mechanism seeking to maintain order and control, a dynamic played out nightly on the stage of our sleeping minds. A generic illustrative case from that era might involve a patient suffering from unexplained anxiety, whose dream analysis reveals thinly veiled desires or angers towards a family member that are absolutely unacceptable in their waking moral code and societal context, highlighting the dynamic between the repressed wish and the societal/internal censor. The Freudian model of dream work provides a framework for understanding how the latent content is transformed into manifest content through various mechanisms: condensation, displacement, symbolism, and secondary revision. Condensation allows multiple latent thoughts, wishes, and memories to be compressed into a single manifest element. A single dream image might represent a person, an event, and an abstract feeling simultaneously. Displacement involves shifting emotional intensity from a forbidden or threatening idea onto a more neutral or acceptable one in the dream. A powerful fear of one's father, for example, might be displaced onto a fear of a dog or a large building in the dream. Symbolism, perhaps the most popularly, and often simplistically, understood mechanism, involves representing complex or repressed ideas through symbolic images, though Freud emphasized that dream symbols were not universal dictionaries but often highly personal. Finally, secondary revision is the process by which the sleeping mind attempts to impose some narrative coherence and logic on the fragmented, distorted output of the other mechanisms, making the dream appear somewhat like a story, even if a bizarre one. The power here lies in the process of disguise itself. It is not merely a translation, but an active, creative, defensive obfuscation. To analyze a dream, then, is not simply to look up symbols in a book, but to reverse engineer this complex process of distortion, peeling back layers of condensation and displacement to arrive at the underlying, often uncomfortable, truth. One of the most profound implications of Freud's work on dreams is the challenge it poses to the Enlightenment ideal of the rational, unified self. If dreams are indeed the royal road to the unconscious, and the unconscious is a realm of powerful, often conflicting drives, irrational impulses, and repressed experiences operating outside of conscious control, then how much of our waking behavior, our choices, our desires, are truly products of conscious deliberation? This notion is deeply unsettling. It suggests that we are not entirely masters of our own house, that subterranean currents are constantly shaping our navigation of the world. The hidden dynamic here is the inherent tension between the conscious mind's need for control and coherence, and the unconscious mind's chaotic, instinctual demands and stored traumas. Our resistance to taking dreams seriously, to delving into their bizarre logic, can be seen as a manifestation of this tension, a preference for the illusion of control over the discomfort of acknowledging these powerful internal forces. How natural does it feel to admit that your fear of public speaking might be less about performance anxiety and more about a buried childhood humiliation? Or that your persistent attraction to a certain type of person is repeating an unresolved conflict from your past? These are the kinds of insights dreams, via the Freudian lens, can offer, and the very discomfort they provoke highlights the depth of the unconscious's influence and our ingrained strategies for denying it. The way in which psychoanalytic ideas, including dream interpretation, have filtered into popular culture and everyday language demonstrates how concepts initially seen as radical can become so familiar they appear almost natural or inevitable, even if fundamentally misunderstood. The idea that dreams have symbolic meaning is now commonplace. Yet, this popularization often strips away the complexity and nuance of Freud's original formulations. The notion of universal dream symbols, snakes means sex, water means emotion, persists despite Freud's emphasis on the personal and context-dependent nature of symbols. Furthermore, the very act of interpreting dreams is often portrayed in media as a straightforward decoding process, reinforcing the idea that there's a single, correct answer to what a dream means. This oversimplification disguises the true nature of Freudian dream analysis, which is a laborious, associative process involving the dreamer's own thoughts and feelings about the dream elements, not a simple symbol lookup. This hidden dynamic is how complex psychological concepts, when disseminated widely, are flattened and rigidified, losing their power to provoke deep self-inquiry and instead becoming part of a consumer culture of quick answers and simplified self-help. The unnatural assumption becomes, my dream must mean X because the book/website says so, effectively shutting down the more challenging, personal exploration that Freud advocated. This brings us to the impact of understanding, or misunderstanding, the power of dreams on individual and collective autonomy. On one hand, gaining insight into repressed desires, fears, and unresolved conflicts through dream analysis can be profoundly empowering. It allows individuals to become more aware of the forces driving their behavior, giving them a greater potential for conscious choice and integration. Understanding why you have a recurring nightmare or a persistent fantasy revealed in a dream can be the first step towards addressing the underlying issues in waking life. This aligns with the therapeutic goal of increasing self-knowledge to alleviate psychological suffering and expand the realm of freedom. However, there's also a potential for disempowerment. If dream interpretations are presented as deterministic, your dream proves you secretly hate your mother, and you are doomed to repeat this pattern, they can lead to feelings of being controlled by irresistible unconscious forces, eroding the sense of agency. Moreover, focusing solely on Freudian interpretations, especially the early emphasis on sexuality and aggression, can narrow the scope of understanding, neglecting other potential meanings related to creativity, future potential, as Jung suggested, or simply the processing of daily life. The hidden dynamic here is the delicate balance between accepting the influence of the unconscious and maintaining conscious responsibility and the capacity for change. A generic illustrative case could involve someone plagued by guilt after a disturbing dream. A rigid interpretation might deepen their distress, while an exploration of the dream's context, their feelings, and potential symbolic associations might reveal it as a processing of anxiety about a current situation, leading to relief and constructive action. The power of dreams extends far beyond the therapeutic couch or the realm of personal psychology. It permeates culture, art, and even hints at fundamental biological processes. Surrealist artists like Salvador Dali and René Magritte explicitly drew upon dream logic and imagery to challenge conventional perceptions of reality, illustrating how the unconscious can be a source of profound creativity and alternative ways of seeing. Literature is replete with dreams that foreshadow events, reveal character motivations, or provide symbolic commentary on the human condition. Film uses dream sequences to plunge viewers into the subjective depths of characters' minds, leveraging the bizarre, emotionally charged nature of dreams for dramatic effect. Even in the realm of technology, advancements in AI exploring generative art often produce images that feel dreamlike in their unexpected juxtapositions and fluid transitions, perhaps hinting at computational analogs to some aspects of dream work. Biologically, the discovery of REM sleep and its correlation with vivid dreaming has spurred research into sleep's role in memory consolidation, emotional regulation, and learning. While biological explanations don't necessarily negate psychological meaning, they provide the physiological substrate upon which the psychological drama unfolds. This interwoven relationship across disparate fields underscores the multifaceted nature of dreams' power. It is at once a personal psychological phenomenon, a universal biological process, and a potent cultural force. The hidden dynamic is how these different levels of analysis, psychological meaning, biological function, cultural expression, constantly interact and inform each other, even if often studied in isolation. Considering the widespread, often superficial, dissemination of Freudian concepts and the potential for deterministic interpretations to undermine autonomy, what strategies can individuals employ to engage with the power of their dreams in a way that is genuinely empowering and insightful? The first step is perhaps the most challenging, reclaiming dreams from the realm of the trivial or the rigidly interpreted. This means treating them not as random noise to be ignored, nor as coded messages with a single, fixed meaning to be looked up in a book, but as complex, highly personal communications from a part of the self that speaks a different language. The key strategy is to move beyond the simplistic symbol dictionary and adopt an associative approach, much closer to Freud's original method. Instead of asking, "What does a snake mean?" ask, "What does this specific snake in this specific dream mean to me? What feelings, memories, or associations does it trigger?" This shifts the focus from external authority to internal exploration. The hidden dynamic this addresses is the desire for easy answers and external validation, countering it with the necessity of engaging in the harder work of introspection and personal meaning-making. Another crucial strategy involves recognizing the historical and cultural filters through which dream interpretation, including Freudian ideas, has passed. Understanding that Freud's theories were products of his time and his specific clinical population can help contextualize his emphasis on certain drives. This doesn't invalidate his insights into the mechanisms of disguise and the power of the unconscious, but it allows for a more flexible and critical approach. Later schools of depth psychology, like Jungian analysis, offered alternative perspectives, emphasizing archetypes, the collective unconscious, and the potential for dreams to offer perspective guidance rather than just reveal past trauma. Integrating insights from various perspectives, psychological, biological, and even cultural, provides a richer tapestry for understanding dream meaning. The hidden dynamic here is overcoming intellectual rigidity and embracing a more holistic view of the psyche and its expressions. A generic illustrative case might involve someone exploring a dream of flying. Instead of only considering potential Freudian interpretations related to sexual release or escape, they might also explore personal feelings about freedom and constraint, look for cultural myths or symbols of flight, and consider how the dream might relate to their current waking aspirations or challenges. Practically, developing a relationship with one's dream life requires consistency and curiosity. Keeping a dream journal immediately upon waking is essential, capturing the fleeting, ephemeral nature of dream recall. Writing down everything remembered, images, feelings, sensations, narrative fragments, without judgment creates a raw text for later analysis. The analysis itself is not a one-time event but an ongoing dialogue. Returning to past dreams, noticing recurring themes or symbols over time, and connecting dream content to waking life experiences and feelings provides deeper insight. The hidden dynamic in this practice is cultivating patience and accepting ambiguity. Dreams rarely offer clear, simple answers. Their power lies in provoking questions, illuminating blind spots, and stimulating a deeper connection with our emotional and instinctual selves. This sustained engagement helps dismantle the effect of seeing dreams as either meaningless noise or rigidly coded messages, replacing it with an appreciation for them as a vital, complex dimension of our inner landscape. Furthermore, understanding dream work as a process of disguise, condensation, displacement, etc., provides a powerful tool for interpretation. Instead of being baffled by the illogical nature of dreams, one can look for how the disguise is operating. Why is a specific person represented by an animal? What elements are merged together? Where is the emotional intensity misplaced? This analytical approach, rooted in Freudian mechanics but applied flexibly, helps uncover the structure of the hidden meaning, not just its potential content. The hidden dynamic here is the resistance to analytical effort. Engaging with dreams requires intellectual work and emotional courage. A generic illustrative case could be a person who dreams of their boss acting like a demanding child. Recognizing this as a potential displacement, the demanding child is not the boss, but perhaps the person's own demanding internal critic or a reminder of a childhood figure, can shift the interpretation from a literal observation about the boss to an insight about the dreamer's internal world or past experiences. The cultural landscape also plays a significant role in shaping our relationship with dreams. From ancient myths to modern memes, cultural narratives influence how we perceive what is possible or meaningful in our dreams. While Freudian theory emphasizes universal psychic structures, cultural contexts imbue symbols with specific layers of meaning. Engaging with art, mythology, and cultural stories can enrich our understanding of the symbolic language that the unconscious might employ, drawing from a shared human reservoir of meaning, while still grounding the interpretation in personal experience. This helps to counteract the tendency towards purely individualistic or overly universal interpretations, recognizing dreams as products of both a universal psyche and a specific cultural environment. The hidden dynamic is the interplay between the deeply personal and the broadly collective in shaping unconscious expression. Ignoring cultural context leaves the interpretation thin. Being overly reliant on it ignores the unique tapestry of individual experience. Ultimately, the transformative potential of engaging with the hidden power of dreams, as articulated through the lens that Freud helped forge, lies in its capacity to expand the boundaries of the known self. It is an invitation to step beyond the comfortable confines of conscious awareness and explore the depths that influence our every thought, feeling, and action. This is not merely an intellectual exercise but a journey of integration. The insights gained from dreams are most powerful when they are brought back into waking life, reflected upon, and allowed to inform our understanding of ourselves and our relationships. It's about recognizing the unconscious not as a dark, foreign entity, but as an integral, if often challenging, part of who we are. The Royal Road leads not just to the unconscious, but through it, towards a more complete and nuanced sense of self. This process of integration helps dismantle the fear and resistance associated with the unconscious, fostering a relationship based on curiosity and acceptance rather than denial and control. The journey catalyzed by Freud's radical assertion is not about finding definitive answers etched in the stars or in a symbolic dictionary, but about cultivating a continuous, evolving dialogue with the most mysterious part of ourselves. The power of dreams lies in their persistent reminder that we are multi-layered beings, driven by forces we may not fully understand but which we ignore at our peril. Engaging with dreams critically, associatively, and contextually offers a path towards greater self-awareness, emotional integration, and ultimately, a more robust and authentic form of autonomy, one that acknowledges the full spectrum of human experience, both conscious and unconscious. The invitation stands, every time we close our eyes, to venture down the Royal Road and discover the hidden landscapes within, waiting to be explored. It requires courage to confront the disguised truths, patience to decipher the unique language, and humility to accept that the self is vaster and more complex than our waking minds can ever fully grasp. This ongoing exploration, this commitment to listening to the whispers of the night, is where the true, enduring power of dreams resides.